I'm not a guest, special or otherwise, because we're all here, as you well know, for High Point College. So none of us are guests. We're all workers together. 66 years ago, on September 14, 1924, High Point College opened. There were 9 faculty members, 122 students, 3 buildings, and a sea of mud. It had been raining for days. It was raining then. It continued to rain for several days. The only way you could get around on the campus was on planks that had been laid down. Hopefully you'd get across the mud. And students swear, some who are still around, swear to this day that there is a mule out there somewhere that fell off the boards and is in the mud. The 3 buildings were Roberts Hall, McCulloch, Woman's, and the 4th building that we usually don't talk about, but it was in construction, is the power plant. Those are the 4 original buildings. Roberts was complete. McCulloch did not have a roof. Woman's did not have any doors, and nothing was attached to the power plant, so nobody could be warm. The men stayed with townspeople until McCulloch was habitable, and there are some who would say it never was. And the women, as the story goes, came down to the lobby, stood in front of the fireplaces, got themselves warm, wrapped themselves in blankets, and ran back to their rooms. Well, that was 66 years ago. During that time, we have had good leadership. We have had the presidents of Andrews, Humphreys, Cook, Patton, Luck, and now Martins. So that in the 66-year period, we have had 6 presidents. They have all been building presidents, because a college, as you well know, is many things, but the things that most people see are the buildings and grounds. And so in 1924, when we opened, we had the 4 buildings. Nothing else, I believe, was built in the 20s. In the 30s, Harrison Hall was built in 33, and Wren Building was built in 37. Now, the Wren Building was the M.J. Wren Memorial Library, and we were in that until 1983, when we moved into this building. In the 40s, we did very little building, and you can imagine why, during the Second World War. But the old Student Center was built in 41. And then as we moved into the 50s and the 60s, there was a tremendous building on this campus. In the 50s, we built the auditorium, the Fine Arts Building. We built Cook Hall. We built Alumni Gymnasium. We built Wesley and North. Then in the 60s, Millis, Yadkin, Belk, Hayworth Hall of Science. In the 70s, Hayworth Chapel, the Campus Center. And then I guess since then it has been this building, which we came into in '83, and Finch Hall. You've got to learn to call it Finch Hall. I know it's been New Hall since 1987 when we built it, but Meredith Finch Person has given $500,000 toward the construction of that building, and we will dedicate it sometime this fall. But as you've noticed, we've already put the name Finch Hall over each of the doors. So that's where we are today. It's been a long time getting where we are. From those 9 faculty members and 122 students 66 years ago, we will have, when we open in 2 weeks, we will have, again on this campus, including, now there's a building I didn't talk about. We built a campus in Winston-Salem, which you know is Madison Park. We built a building 10,000 square feet in 1987 and occupied it in 1987. The program has been so successful that in 1989 we built a second building of 12,000 square feet, which we entered in January of 90. And so in Madison Park, we have some 22,000 square feet of classroom and laboratory space. That, with our evening degree program, gives us, last fall, and we'll have the same thing this fall, just over 2,000 students, with roughly 1,200 of them on this campus, regular day, and about 800 in the evening degree program. We're not going to be any fewer this fall than we were last fall. There may be a fewer first-time traditional freshmen, but we've had an explosion of transfers. And so I do not expect to have any fewer in the open class, maybe a little more this fall than we had last fall. Faculty members will be somewhere between 80 and 85 full-time faculty members. So from 9 to 85 and from 122 to over 2,000, the college has grown. You are very interested in the buildings and grounds because that's what you work with every day, and that's why I've gone through the history of the building. But the college is also a history of people. Some of you may remember Nat Yarborough. Nat Yarborough came very close to being on the original faculty of the college. He was interviewed in 1924, but was not given a contract until 1925. Nat stayed here, well, he had been here over 50 years when he retired. He was registrar, professor of German and modern languages. They tell some interesting stories about the developmental years of the college. If you have read any of our brochures, you'll notice that across the bottom of many of them we say, continuing a tradition of excellence since 1856. Now, a lot of people see that and wonder, what does 1856 have to do with High Point College, since the sign out on Montlou says that we were founded in 1924. Well, Yadkin College, in Yadkin, in the backwoods of North Carolina, was founded in 1856. It is considered by many to be the forerunner of High Point College. It was organized by the church, as we are here, the United Methodist Church. There were, by 1861, there were 66 students, male students, at Yadkin College. 50 of them joined the Confederate Army in 1861. Yadkin College never recovered. It finally closed in the early 1900s. When it closed there, the Jamestown Female Institute opened in Jamestown. Again, a continuance of Methodist education. And when we opened in 1924, that closed. You will find, if you look at what some of the students call the graveyard, if you look out by the rock garden, you will find one of the original plaques about Yadkin College and one about Jamestown Female Institute. They are out there as remnants. You will also find, and you may not know this, but the bell tower carries the original bell from Yadkin College. It is the bell that was used to change classes, to summon to meals, whatever. Roberts Hall originally contained the college, except for the residence halls. The big lounge on the second floor was the library. The area where the education department is on the ground floor was the kitchen and dining hall. The area where the men's bathroom and the advancement offices are on the first floor was the science laboratories. There are some of our students still around who talk about being in the chemistry lab and having cracks in the floor and being sure that some of their chemicals went down into the dining hall. There's also one window pane that we must be very careful of in the, it's in Bobby Hayes' office, because 3 of our students etched their names on that window pane when they were in the chemistry lab. One of those is Dr. Jill May, who is professor of gynecology and obstetrics at Bowman Gray and a retired member of our Board of Trustees. And I think a couple of other of the trustees' names are there. So that's a very important pane of glass. So we have to be very careful about that. We went through some terrible times. Andrews, our first president, resigned in 1930 because he couldn't stand the financial strain any longer. He had just done all he could. Humphreys became president in 1930 and remained president until 1949. He had wanted to be president for 20 years, but the tensions got so bad that the trustees felt it was in the best interest for him to go someplace else. During that time were some of the worst times of the college, and you can imagine, 1930 through the Second World War. And what we found was that there was very little money. Faculty members didn't get paid. Kermit Cloninger, some of you may know Kermit, a retired member of our Board of Trustees, and for several years was chairman of the Buildings and Grounds Committee of the Board from Thomasville. He was a student here from 32 to 36. He graduated in 36. And he remembers seeing, he and other students remember seeing a truckload of vegetables and chickens come into the campus. But only the vegetables appeared in the dining hall. And in trying to figure out what happened to those chickens, they discovered that these were used to pay the faculty's salaries. But having no money, they were paid in chickens. There's also a tale told about that time that there was a farmer in, I can't imagine this, but a farmer in Virginia who killed too many hogs and couldn't take care of them and brought a complete load of dressed hogs to the campus. And what the food service couldn't use, the faculty could buy at 6 cents a pound. Now, I wouldn't mind having a nice dressed hog at 6 cents a pound, but I don't think we find any of those today. It was in 1949 that Dennis Cook became president. He was a consolidating president. Now, you heard me in the 50s that several buildings were built. We don't remember Dennis Cook, however, as a building president, but as one who put the college on a firm financial basis, who got the college recognized among its peers, the accrediting agency of the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools. We were accredited and have been ever since. It was Wendell Patton who came in 1957, who was our building president. He was president from 57 until 80. And if you will remember during that time, how many of the buildings that were built in the 60s and the 70s. Then Wendell resigned in spring of 80. Dr. David Cole was acting president 80-81. Charles Luft came in on August 1 of 81 and was president until 85. And then Jake Martinson, our present president, came in on August 1 of 1985. And it is my sincere hope that he will be here until normal retirement age or beyond. Because he is a man who understands college administration. He understands people. And he has the vision of what High Point College should be. This last year, you were probably aware that we put together what was called the National Commission on the Future of High Point College. About 150 persons throughout the United States met for about a 10-month period, studied the college, looked at our strengths, our weaknesses, made suggestions and proposals for what the college should do and become in the next 10 years. This report was presented to the Board of Trustees in March of this year, and the board adopted it unanimously. Now that's a tremendous undertaking for the board and for the college, because to carry out what is in those 10 strategic thrusts and for the many, many specific objectives that are in that program, we will need several tens of millions of dollars. You may also know that in 1987, we kicked off the Aspire campaign to raise $20 million between 1987 and 1999, which is the 75th anniversary of the founding of the college. The first phase, which should have been a 5-year phase, was to raise $10 million. We exceeded that goal in 37 months. So phase 1 has been very successful. We're now in a waiting period before we begin phase 2. Why are we in a waiting period? We're in a waiting period because there are 2 building projects that we have underway right now. They are both of direct interest to you. Roberts Hall is going to be completely renovated. It is our expectation right now that the exterior will begin about October 1. We're talking about complete new woodwork, redoing all of the windows, a new steeple, rebuilding the tower, new roof. It is our intent that we restore the outside of Roberts Hall to as close as we can the way it looked 66 years ago in 1924. It's a major undertaking. We also have built into those specifications the renovation of the interior of the building. The ground floor will become classrooms only. The top floor will become offices only, with what was the original library being converted into the boardroom. And we will do some major renovation on what you now think is the first floor, but we're going to have to get accustomed to calling it first, second, and third floors, so that where my office is and where the registrar's office is correctly the second floor. We will make it completely handicap accessible. There will be an elevator, so that that building is going to be outside the way it should have looked in 1924, and inside meeting the codes of 1990. And then next, probably April 1 or somewhere around there, we will break ground for the Millis Athletic Convocation Center, a $6 million facility, renovating Alumni Gymnasium, expanding it, adding to it an Olympic-sized swimming pool, racket courts, a really beautiful facility. It will sit where it now is. Looking at the building from the front, on the left side will be the addition with the swimming pool, and it's going to be a beautiful facility. I would expect that within a 24-month period, and here we are in late July of 1990, I would expect by the same time of 1992 for both these projects to be complete. So when freshmen enter in the fall of 1992, they will have full access to this new athletic convocation center. Now, again, I've talked primarily about buildings. We have a very good, attractive academic program. We have some unusual things about our program that attract people to us. You probably know that we have the Home Furnishings Marketing Program, an undergraduate major that is unlike anywhere in the world. We have built it because of our connections with the furniture industry. And we have a fair number of students who come to us and major in that program. We have the American Humanics Program, a program designed to prepare young people to work in people-serving agencies. Boys clubs, girls clubs, Salvation Army, YWYM, all of these kinds of programs. We have the computer information systems. We're well aware of all of the computers that we have sitting over here and throughout the campus. We have put in a program starting this fall that will have far-reaching effects for us. and that is an undergraduate major in international studies. One of the thrusts of the National Commission is that we become more international, we become more global in our aspects and in our education. And so we are looking at an undergraduate major in international studies and may well establish a campus either in England or in Germany. See, this is a part of the thrust that we really need to do. We already have a connection with the University of Leeds in Leeds, England, with Westminster College in Oxford, England, and with the Foley Center in Freiburg, Germany. So we're making extensions of High Point College. You may have read also as a part of the commission that there has been some talk about what should be the name of this institution as we move into the next decade and do all of these things that we're talking about. Well, the history of the college will show you that we are where we are. Several cities wanted the college. The city of High Point gave $100,000 and 60 acres of land for the establishment of the college. The Methodist Conference accepted that offer. We are now 75 acres between Montlou, Lexington, and East and West College. We have 75 acres. 60 of those were given to us by the city. Studies, some of the fancy studies that they do from the air shows that at both ends of the campus there are remnants of ditches dug by Confederate and Revolutionary soldiers as there was apparently fighting going on in this area. Originally we were called the, little t, the High Point College. Not High Point College, but the High Point College. And there was great discussion about what our name should be, and finally they decided High Point College. Well, as we grow, if we go into master's work, if we expand abroad, then we probably need to look seriously at what is the proper name for High Point College. And a task force of the Board of Trustees has been set up to study that and will make their report by the 1st of January 1951. You may also have read of one of our hopes, and that is that we can get the city and the state to close Montlou Avenue between East College and West College and make that a part of the campus. Because in our plans are also a new fine arts building. We would like it to sit right out there on Montlou. And obviously, we've got to get rid of Montlou before we can do that. I think this will happen. I don't know when, but I think it will happen. I think it will happen within the next... While I'm still at High Point College, I think it will happen. I'm not going to put a time on it because you're recording me. I'm not going to put a time. High Point College has been here for 66 years. We are a young college. We've had some really trying times. We have survived them. We have survived them because we've had leadership in the administration. We've had leadership of the board that have been far-seeing people. You may also know that in a financial solidifying program for the college, that in 1967, I guess it was, the college Board of Trustees bought the downtown city block that the Sears facility sits on. It was known as the Magic Block and still is known as the Magic Block. And we bought that entire block in the urban redevelopment program for $264,000. We developed it for Sears. They had a very long-term lease, and it now has a tax value of just under $8 million. That's what we're being taxed on. It long since paid itself off, and the income from it goes into the endowment. At about the same time, the board also put together the property that is known as Eastgate Shopping Center. And we developed that, we own it. And both of those were done in 67, 68, and have long since paid themselves off and are both income producing for the college. We are financially stable. We are an energetic college with an administration that's looking to the future. And the National Commission on the Future of High Point College set 10 thrusts which will be carried out. Students who return today, even from having been here 2 years ago, talk about the changes they see on the campus. There will be more of this as the years go on. I know I'm here to talk about the history of High Point College. This is one thing I have to say to you in closing. People would not return to the campus and talk about how good it looks and how different it looks if it weren't for you. The daily work that you put in has made High Point College very much what it is today. And as we continue to grow and work together, High Point College will continue to be what we hear a lot of people say. It is one of the most beautiful college campuses they've ever been on. And for that, on behalf of the administration, I have to say thank you very much.
Well, that's all we have today.
I'll just respond to questions if everybody has.
If there are any questions?
There are only 5 persons who've been here, that are now here, that have been here longer than I have. So,
Who is that?
Mona Sanders, who is the Secretary of Education. She's been the President's Secretary, she has been the Business Manager's Secretary, she has been here since a very young child. Then there are 4 faculty members that have been here longer than I have. Bob Davidson, now this will surprise you, I think most of you know Coach Davidson. He came to the college in '56, 34 years ago. And again, Bob Davidson is approaching retirement age, but he certainly doesn't look it. And those of you who have not been here for many years don't know that he is recovered from an almost fatal heart attack. I mean, this man is... Earl Crow. I think everybody knows Earl Crow. He came to the college in '64. Mannion Idle in mathematics. You probably don't see him very often. He's been here since '64. And Bill Cope in sociology, who's been here since '64. I came in '66. So, and when Dr. Martinson came in '85, he referred to me by a term that you've probably heard Thad Urim, a long time Secretary of State of the state of North Carolina, say that he was the old rat in the barn. And I was referred to as the old rat in the barn. But I reminded these people that they have to remember that the reason there is an old rat in the barn is because he takes care of all the snakes. So,
Are they planning on putting the bell back up in the tower when they redo it?
no.
Will they're gonna bring it down and make a memorial out of it, or
Which bell are we talking about?
the one that's in the tower in Roberts Hall?
There is a bell in the tower.
Yeah, it's sitting on the floor, it's still there.
I'll have to go look at that. No, there are no, the blueprints for the building, a massive roll about like this, but there's nothing in it that says anything about the bell. I'll have to check that one out. We're not going to bronze the pigeons. When we get into the attic of Roberts, we're going to find some historical things that we had no idea we had. I'm fairly certain. Find some things that we should never have had. When we use that, as you know, for some storage, for some records that we just need to get out of the way. None of the women from the business office go up by themselves. They go up in twos. So,
questions? Auditor, you got a question?
No, I don't.
Alder's only question is, why do you do this to me? Why do you bring all these people in this summer? When we finish Sunday week, we will have had about 5,000 persons through the campus this summer in summer programs.
We feel it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
No. Well, I'll just turn right around and have every bed full. Well,
That's time limit. 6,000 makes it. Keep happy. Hide it.
already I'm putting together a program for 1991 summer, and it looks as big as this summer. So, start rest up during the year, all right? Don't rest up too much. This, by the way, is the current High Point College tie. It has something on it which you probably have not seen. This is a shield of the college. It's a design that was done. It has the lamp of learning and has HBC on it. And, the official colors of the college are purple and white, but there's no purple on this one.
We have that information.
I have doubt it, seriously.
They look purple, do
We have those scars.
You colorblind anyway.
That's why we let him pick the paint color. That's why we let him pick the paint that they just stood up there and peeled off with. Did you pick that paint? We're going to replace it, right? Good. All righty, looks like somebody wants to come in. You may edit that as you please.
Okay, well, thank you very much
Sure.
for taking time out of your day to come over here.